Right, now we're going to talk about these Russian-Ukraine tensions. We're going to try and talk about what the motives are, and who better to do this with two guests. One of them's ready now, Professor Hakki Ocak. He and I will start, then Professor Mark Meirowitz will be joining us. We're having some technical issues getting to him. Professor Hakki Ocak, always good to see you, sir. We're going to have, you and I are going to start this conversation, then we're going to we'll bring Mark up to speed. We're just having a technical issue with him right now. I want to look at something a little bit outside the box with you today. I want to talk about alternative motives to why there's these Russian and Ukraine tensions. And I know we have to be a little bit hypothetical perhaps, but I want to think about, I mean, I interviewed somebody the other day, a good friend of mine, Professor Tim Wilson from the UK, and he said that this could be a smokescreen to hide the fact that Navalny had a court trial just 2 weeks ago, and of course this wasn't reported on. Is this could these be playing some sort of alternative sort of motives for Putin?
Well, that's a too small thing. I mean, it's been before, and Navalny or any other opposition leader in Russia is no matter for as far as Putin is concerned. He's a strong man. He even he misused the constitutional opportunities. At one point, he appointed himself as prime minister, and then next term he was president. He plays like a cat and mouse with internal politics. So he wouldn't be doing this internationally. It must be something bigger than that. Either he has some plans to draw in the United States and to finish them this way. He could, if he knows something that we don't know, or again he is doing it for some ulterior motives, but it is not opponents or opposition or anything. It must be something bigger than that.
Okay, let's start with this. Okay, fine. Perhaps you're right. Navalny is small fish, maybe,
yes.
and too much happening just for one little man. Okay, let's start with. I want to bring Mark in a second. He'll join us in a second. But right, we look at the main problem I see things is between Russia and really NATO. I mean,
yes,
it's NATO that's expanding. If we look back in the 40s when NATO was first formed, it was just formed with 12 members originally.
Yes.
And it was formed, if I'm wrong, right, to combat Russian influence. Is that right?
That's true. That's
okay.
Exactly the main purpose.
During World War II, sir, wasn't it Russia that helped defeat Nazi Germany? Why is there so much aggression, first of all, against Russia?
Because at that time they were helping Western world or the free world. However, they were building up their own version of dictatorship or Marxist-Leninist democracy, they called it, and the idea was catching up very fast. People in Italy, people in France, even in Turkey, were turning to be communists easily. And when you had a communist political group, they could easily ask Russia, the mother Russia, as they used to call, to come and help you. So the United States was building up its own sphere of influence. It was much more democratic, much more freer, comparatively speaking, and they were against communism. And the shortcut for this was to create some sort of war, not actually going to using the guns and bullets and everything, but again, it was still war, and that war kept Russia or communism in its limits. So they tried to prevent the spread of communism. If they didn't, the idea in the United States, I wish Mark was here. He could easily embellish that.
Mark's joined us now. Mark's joined us now. Mark, we're talking about basically when NATO was first formed, it was 12 member states. Russia, in essence, helped the Allied forces defeat Nazi Germany. But NATO was formed because it was to help, as Professor Hakki Ocak is saying, basically to keep back communism. And I'm trying to find out why there's so much aggression towards USA or NATO and Russia. Do you want to add to this?
I'd be happy to, and it's a pleasure to be with you and with Professor Ocak. I think that Professor Ocak, his points, I think, are well taken in terms of the history. But right now, I think it's a plain, simple case of Russian overreach and aggression. For no particular reason, nobody's done anything to Ukraine. NATO is not attacking Russia. This is completely bogus. This whole idea of evacuating the Russians from the Donbas region is once again completely ridiculous, bogus. And I can tell you that I very much like the headline of The Economist magazine that Putin has botched this completely. This will be a failure for Russia, and I'm going to analogize it to the Russian skater Valyeva, who fell down in the Olympics. Russia will fall down internationally if it proceeds with this very, very ill, very bad policy of attacking innocent sovereign country and with an aggression that is unprecedented in the last many years. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, well,
NATO didn't do anything to Russia whatsoever.
Okay, but let's break it down a little bit. Because what I want to talk about with you guys, you know, you always complain that we never have enough time. Well, we have plenty of time today. So let's break this down a little bit. Okay, the original aggression between NATO, as I was saying to Hakki Ocak, 12 member states originally, then expanded. It's now about 30, and it really is encroaching on the borders with Russia. Isn't it normal for Russia to be a little bit worried here, Hakki?
Of course, if I were him, I were anybody in any position in Russia, I would be worried to death. Because this is the mighty NATO coming to our borders and getting all the new members. And they say, even though NATO is a defensive alliance, Russia noticed a couple of things. First, in the Kosovo War, during the Kosovo War, NATO bombed Serbia. NATO was not defending any member country there, and it was totally an aggressive war. They did, and also in Libya, NATO was taking a offensive position. It was not anymore the defensive alliance or something. So that plus new members and new guns targeting or looking towards you, Russians developed this, what they call the siege mentality. They think that they have been surrounded by the West, and at any time they are going to wipe you out of the face of the earth. That is the mentality. That is the psychology or the sick psychology that Putin is having right now. That's what they say. At one point they asked Russia, Yeltsin was in power, to come and join NATO yourself if you don't have any intention to recreate your Soviet empire. Yeltsin was very much prepared, if I remember correctly, to do that. He was very happy to join there, so there would be free vodka in NATO meetings and everything. However, he didn't survive too long, and he was replaced by this guy, and Putin is much more in bad position, psychologically speaking.
Okay.
And this siege mentality is very, you can see it in his behavior.
Okay, Mark, put yourself in Russia's position. like I said to Hakki, the same question to you. You're surrounded by more NATO allies. Weaponry is much more advanced. You could wipe out Russia or take over Russia in a heartbeat. Wouldn't you be worried if you were Russia?
Now, I completely agree with Professor Ojal, as I always do, but I think it is paranoia that we're dealing with. You know, Russia was attacked by Napoleon. It was attacked by Hitler. They have a real paranoia. This is why they created the Band of Eastern European States to protect their homeland. So that is not, paranoia is not an excuse for aggression. Secondly, with Professor Ojal's point about mighty NATO, Russia is making NATO mighty. Well, thank you, because NATO, I thought, was brain dead. Macron said it was brain dead. Now it's mighty, so it's true. Putin on his own has coalesced Russia. Now let's understand something very important. The world of the post-World War II and the world of the collapse of communism, the greatest disaster, according to Putin, is over. There's a reality on the ground. And truly, Putin wants to change. He wants to refit history to accommodate his concepts, and that just doesn't work. It doesn't work in the modern world. Russia is no longer communist. It is a call it, I don't know, they call it a kleptocracy. Call it what you want. It suppresses human rights. It is aggressive. So it's going to become an outlier in the world. Now, NATO, which was hoping for a mission, met at the summit and didn't have a mission, and the mission was China and then Russia. And last point, remember history, right? China was the junior partner to Russia. Now Russia is the junior partner to China, and it's not what it used to be. And if the solution is going to be containment, NATO is going to be much more powerful, and countries like Finland and others that would have never thought about joining NATO are going to join NATO. So I say again, he won a little move on the chess game. His only game is aggression, and that will not work for him. And I think, according to The Economist, internally, many of the middle class, upper class people who have thrived to some extent in the economy are woefully fearful of this war, because it is going to cause severe economic dislocation if the United States imposes its sanctions. And that is going to be a catastrophe for Ukrainian people, but catastrophe for Europe. And who caused it? The Russians. So I think he should pull his troops back and stop with all this aggression. And he's already won a lot of points, and put his chess pieces away for the time being and stop rattling the saber of the Russian history and try to suppress other countries. That game is over. And if he starts it, it will be very, very bad for him going forward. That's how I feel.
All right, I know how you feel. Okay, I know how you feel. Hakki, do you want to add anything before I sort of turn it the other way?
No,
Okay, all right.
Mark,
So Mark, fair point. Look, we know overall, if we look at the bigger picture, Putin should perhaps not be looking so aggressive. But at the end of the day, he is a forceful power. Now, NATO allies, NATO countries, allied countries, they're all sending. They're sending military aid to Ukraine. They're not sending soldiers, they're not putting boots on the ground, but all the countries in the area, they're all standing up and saying, look, we're going to stand by Ukraine. He must be feeling this pressure, right, Russia? I mean, Russia must be feeling a lot of pressure. Hakki, would you stand down? At the end of the day, he hasn't advanced past his borders. He's still in his own borders. He's just protecting his own sovereignty, right? Hakki, what do you think?
That's correct. That's right. He is doing this. We know one more thing. The Russian economy right now cannot afford a war. Any war, well, maybe there is this theory of just wars. So if the war that he's going to commit is just from any point of view, from his own perspective, from Russian perspective or something, yeah, he might afford this, but not this one. Biden was right when he said that it is going to be a war of choice on his part. That's true. Also, I think he knows one more thing. The United States cannot afford the war either. European partners are not really partners anymore. Merkel is not there. The Social Democrats are Social Democrats. They hate guts of anything American in Germany. Macron is, Mark reminded us a second ago, he used to call NATO brain dead. And remember, he is acting as if he is the leader of the Western world or European Union, going to Russia, discussing things on his own part and everything. So Europe is not going to stand behind United States this time. But by the way, United States cannot start this war because Ukraine is not the member yet. Only yesterday, Zelensky said, we don't want your economic sanctions or anything. You need to do something to stop Russians. There's nothing to stop Russians right now, other than the people in Russia. And we don't know anything about this. We don't get any good information from within Russia. Again, Mark used this excellent word, kleptocracy. It is nothing but something that bureaucrats are running. And to make the long story short, there is not going to be a war. It is a war of words, and it's going to drag for a long time. Nobody is going to invade nothing. And as the economist said, he has to find a way that he painted himself, Putin painted himself into the corner. He has to find a way to walk on this wet path. I think he will find a way to do that. And this week, we will see that President Erdogan is visiting Africa right now. If there was going to be a war on his borders right now in Black Sea, would he be doing this? No.
Right.
No, there will be no war.
There will be no war. Okay, so Mark, why is U.S. media fueling this? I mean, every channel you open and you watch it, see it from CNN, CNBC, NBC, they're all is imminent. Even Kamala Harris came out and just a few hours ago said she can't explain how serious this is. It's about to explode any minute now. What's the hype? Are you sending more arms to the region? Lockheed and Spear making guns that they need to start sending? Are they going out of date or something? What's going on?
I'm happy you're watching MSNBC, and especially Kamala Harris, which really is a waste of time because she is not a qualified foreign policy expert. She has absolutely zero background. She's the wrong person to send, and I also think I'm shocked that the president didn't come out right away instead of national security advisor. And sending Kamala Harris is indicative of the fact that the United States is really, on the contrary, trying to really maybe calm this down. Biden says, hey, I don't know what Putin's going to do, and, and all of this. See, it's not very warlike talk. I mean, really, if it were Trump, I suppose Trump would say, my button's bigger than his button or something like that, which he did to Kim Jong-un. But it's not warlike talk. On the contrary, as far as the media, I love the media, and I love Anews. I don't know what to say about it. Obviously, the media needs news to talk about, so people will be interested. Now, on the points that were raised previously, number one, within Russia, I was reading in The Economist what the people are thinking in terms of journalists and others, business people and others. They are petrified of a war, so that's one thing. Secondly, what is Putin's strategy? This is almost like the best guessing game in the world. If you notice, the parliament recognized the Luhansk and the Donetsk Liberation Front, and they evacuated the people to Russia. So maybe his next game, and maybe you guys play chess, is to in fact annex or formally take over the Donbass. I don't believe that making the move to do checkmate to attack Kyiv, or Kiev as we used to call it, is it's illogical, because it undermines the whole chance, and it's risky that Biden might be Trumpy and might say, you know what, I'm cutting you off of SWIFT, as bad as that is, and as cataclysmic as it would be for all of Europe. Biden says we're going to have sanctions, so we don't know what he's going to do. And you know what? Not knowing is also good on the side of the West. Now, about NATO and the pullback, America wants to pull back from its commitments. And thanks to Russia, America is not pulling back from its commitments. About your point, Murad, about Germany and others giving aid, Germany gave a bunch of helmets. So I don't see that they were giving a whole lot of aid. But what they did say at the press conference with Scholz and Biden was, we are in the same step. We are in lockstep with you on Nord Stream 2. So I think if Putin is smart, he's already gotten the victory that Ukraine isn't going to join NATO. And he's gotten his most important point is that all eyes are on Russia. Putin is the player. The world revolves around Moscow. This is what he wants. He got that. So I think at this point, he better pull back, because if he goes to the next point in the chess game, he's going to lose the chess game, because all of Europe and the whole world will unite. By the way, about the borders that you're talking about, Belarus is not a border. It's a puppet state of Russia. So in massing troops there and putting them on the border is aggressive in and of itself, plus all of these other false events and misinformation, just like they did with the American election. So they're not going to make headway. You know, Lenin said, I think, 2 steps backward, 1 step forward, or 2 steps back forward, 1 step backward, whatever it was. He's going to go 2 steps backward if he tries this, even though he might have gotten an immediate advantage.
Now, Mark, it's interesting you say, you talked about the Donetsk, the Donbass region. Hakki, I'm going to point this to you. Now, to enter NATO, one of the things that you need to tick off your checklist is that you have no internal problems in your country for you, and they have. So, I mean, even if Ukraine wanted to join, and let's say all the other member states said, yes, Ukraine, we want you in NATO, there's that really important part there that because it has this internal conflict in the Donbass region, it can't join anyway, it doesn't qualify. So what's going on? Hakki.
Well, it's the wrong move. As Mark said, if it's a chess game, somebody started with the wrong move, and there is no way to start to proceed with the good moves after this. NATO wants to, yes, they want to go into Ukraine. Also, they want to go into Georgia. This way, you will be surrounding Russia, or any wrong move coming from Russia will be responded easily or in a better way. Doing this, with this crisis, actually, Putin achieved 2 things. First, Ukraine and Georgia are not now anyway acceptable to NATO. No NATO is going to accept these 2 countries in their own sane mind. Germany is going to say no. They are going to veto any new membership coming from there, because now these 2 countries are carrying the risk of war with them. Second, Russia really created this disaster in Ukraine, which was becoming as strong as Russia. By the way, let's remember that Ukraine was the 2nd most developed country in the Soviet Union. Now, this way, with these separatist groups and Donbass problems and everything, and these war threats, And thanks to Biden, nobody is investing one single penny in this country anymore. And the effect will continue for the next 2 or 3 years. And Ukraine is now no longer any threat to Russia. So Putin achieved certain things here. If anybody finds a magical way to step down, both sides will say yes, oh good, we are going to agree with you and we are taking our armies back and so on and so forth. Now, who is going to find this magic move? I don't know. Maybe Norwegians can find a way out of it. Not Stoltenberg, but right now. Or Ukraine itself can find a way saying that we don't want to be a member of NATO anymore. It will step down both sides immediately. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. As Mark said, it is a guessing game, and your guess is as good as mine, and anybody's guess is also better than anyone other people.
Fair enough. Okay, right. I'm going to move on to other. Now, as you know, I wanted to get the both of you together because I wanted to talk about basically motives behind this Ukrainian-Russian tension. So we're speculating. Mark, Hakki and I, just before you arrived, had a quick chat saying basically that we want to do some speculation about what the motives are. You missed the part when we talked about Navalny, but don't worry, that was soon brushed away and say, don't be silly. That little problem isn't enough to start a war. Okay, energy. I want to talk about energy, Mark. Is this a motive enough? This Nord Stream 2 pipeline, is this big enough of a problem or big enough of an issue to get all this, to get some kind of new energy deals, perhaps? Or that's why Olaf Scholz went to Russia, right? He said, please don't cut off our energy, probably. I don't know. What's the energy crisis? Mark?
Oh, well, I think that this is a fundamental aspect of this issue. Russia's supply of energy to China, Russia supplying energy to Europe is the fundamental element of this entire crisis, no question about it. And Russia will have to figure out very clearly whether or not, if they go ahead and attack, whether that will undermine their entire energy policy. I think that is the big elephant in the room about this whole thing. Because, and the other point is supply chains. If you think about it also, the Russians are having naval maneuvers and blockade. They're blockading and stopping the ability of the Ukraine to export its commodities. It's a breadbasket of the world. I mean, yes, resource access is the key issue here. It also relates to internal politics, which I guess we're talking about in terms of solidifying Putin's internal power. But you know what? We have a movie called Wag the Dog, Wag the Dog, which is, you make a war and you distract everybody from all your problems. And I think this is a perfect wag the dog scenario on Putin because he made a war. Oh, here's a point of fact, a factoid. He only attacks during Olympics. After the Olympics or during the Olympics, he attacked Georgia during the Olympics. He attacked Crimea during the Olympics. And now he's thinking of attacking.
Isn't that a coincidence?
During the Olympics. So it's something. Maybe now that skater fell down, now he really wants to attack. I don't know. Who can understand the complete irrationality? I'm saying from a state planning point of view, this plan is completely bonkers. It's bonkers. What I say, my professor in political science, and I'm sure Professor Ojal had his mentors, taught me cui bono, who benefits? Who benefits? So the question is, who benefits here? Does Russia really benefit? And by the way, China is not jumping up in the air saying, oh, I support invasion. Chinese foreign policy is not stepping forward to be the pal of Russia in this very ill-conceived venture, also because China needs resources. So all of these questions are interlinked. And so I think Russia making this move is very, very dangerous and will be very counterproductive to them internally and externally.
Okay. Okay, what do you make about the energy crisis? I mean,
you
and I, Hakki,
I mean, right now,
sorry, go on.
right now, nobody is winning from this move. Energy prices are going through the roof, and the Turkish people are. I know what's happening. I know my own bills. I mean, we are using the natural gas and oil to produce electricity, and electricity is costing maybe 200 times more what it used to last year. Somebody should stop this. And they say it is going again to increase this next month. They should stop this. And Russia is not winning, by the way. They are not making money out of this. Quite contrary, they are losing money because Germany stopped this Nord Stream project number 2, and it will take really long time to restart it with Germany and the other European countries. And Russia is not going to win anything out of this energy-wise. So if it was a move from the Putin's point of view regarding the energy prices, yes, he successfully increased the raw energy prices, but he's not going to make any extra money out of it because total exports are going down. I don't know. I mean, somebody started this game. There's a Turkish story for this, but I don't want to take your time for this. At the end, everybody will look around and said, who pushed me from this cliff? I mean, I was just looking down and somebody pushed me from behind, and now I am in trouble. Putin is in trouble right now. West is in trouble right now. China doesn't like this idea. Yes, thanks to Biden, China is now in closer relationship with Putin. Anytime they didn't have that kind of close relationship when both countries were truly communist. Now they are enjoying another closer ties. Yet, I'm sure Chinese authorities do not like what's happening in Europe.
Indeed. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. I know we said we had lots of time, but we have been talking a lot. Well, let's just wrap up here. Mark, Zelensky and Putin, well, Zelensky's called to meet Putin. Is he going to answer and say, yeah, okay, let's meet and get this sorted, or he's going to ignore him?
Well, I mean, Putin did not attend the Munich Security Conference. That's very significant. So I don't think he's going to meet with him. He didn't agree to meet with the other powers and Ukraine in the Munich Security Conference, which Russia participated in, giving him a chance to make his blustering statements and whatever he wanted to make, like he did a number of years ago. You know, the question about Ukraine and the United States, I mean, I think we're going to have another program at some point with our trio here to figure out when actually Putin pulls back or does something, whether we did a good job or not in putting himself on the face of the world. But look at this. We're talking about him. This is all we're talking about. Right. This is what he revels in. And I think that the other problem, just as a postscript, because, you know, the Baltic states are in great danger of suppression by Russia, and also Finland, you know, Finlandization. So there's a lot more going on here. I think Putin wanted to see he probing and pushing and probing to see what he can get, because he saw the United States in Afghanistan. He saw the U.S. pull out. He saw America's internal dissension. He recognizes America may not be able to project as much power as it could before, but he's wrong. He's wrong. Never give up on American resolve. Never. You know, over there, where it's not going to be over till America comes over there. America is the key element, and France can talk till tomorrow. Till tomorrow, they will not have strategic autonomy. I don't believe it. They want it, but we have an expression, Forget about it. Never is it going to happen. They need to work with the U.S. They don't have to be subjugated or under the United States, but need to work with the United States in a good partnership. That's the right idea, where everybody respects everybody. Not that France wants to be ahead of the game. They tried it before. It's not going to work. And I think they should, instead of having brain-dead NATO, they should give life support to NATO.
Okay. All right. Go on.
But Murat Bey, there is one winner in this game.
Sure.
Only one winner. That is our Boris in United Kingdom. And he successfully made everything forgotten about those COVID parties he was having. And now he's back to the big boys league, and he's enjoying himself.
Indeed,
and unfortunately, the Queen has COVID, unfortunately, so we wish her a very, 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 she's terrific. I'm a big Anglophile, and I hope she has a quick recovery. Boris Johnson, I'm thinking, I don't want to predict, but I think he's finished. Watching the way the parliament operated on this issue, I don't think he can survive it, especially if the report comes out in its entirety. I don't think so.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the Sue Gray report. We'll see if those parties really, how they really. Okay, guys, we are down to our last 30 seconds. Hakki, we're not going to see any boots on the ground, are we? When it comes to the USA, we're not, or right?
No. I don't think we are going to see any action in time soon.
Okay. All right, guys. Mark, pleasure, as always, seeing you. Thank you for waking up so early today. I know it's you're 8 hours behind us. Hakki Ocak, you don't look like you still haven't come back to Istanbul yet. But when you come back, let us know.
Soon enough.
Please stay safe, stay well, both of you. Okay. Thank you both for joining me here on Anews. Always a pleasure to see you. All right, there you go.